Hello everyone, my name is George Christian Cummings and welcome to the fourth episode of Sunday Chats. Um, I have, today, I'm recording this on the Friday, I have just finished, a few hours ago, today I finished my final mock exam. So, I'd mainly today like to talk about that, how I think that went. I would like to talk about, of all things, my opinion on the House of Lords and whether or not it should be abolished, because somebody asked me a question about that recently, and I would like to end off by sort of clearing up a little bit of confusion that those who know me in real life and follow me on Snapchat may have had about a fan account that seems to have been made of me. So, if that all seems interesting to you, then stay tuned, I suppose. Starting with mock exams though, I think first I'm going to talk about how I feel I did in classics. Now, for those who don't know, first of all, my subjects are classics, religious studies, and history. I used to do English language, but I dropped it before before Easter just gone, rather, and I only do 3 now. But all things considered, I actually think I did my classics exams rather well. I had 2 exams. I will have 3 at the end of the actual thing, but I had 2 exams. I had one, which is it's the OCR course for those that actually know classics. One is World of the Hero, which is about studying at our school. It's going to be about studying the Odyssey, and it's going to be about studying the Aeneid. But we have not done the Odyssey yet because I'm only in year 12. So we will be doing that later. The exam was an exam for 2.5 hours that was just on Virgil's Aeneid, which is, for those who don't know, the Roman equivalent of sort of a mix between the Odyssey and the Aeneid. It's sort of like combined into one story, and it's told from the Trojan perspective after the Trojan War rather than the Greek one. And it's actually quite an interesting read. I don't know. It's one of those ones where I don't know how good it is as a narrative. Reading it translated is quite dull, but ultimately I think the themes that it explores are very interesting, and studying it in an academic context has been quite interesting. That exam, I feel I did quite well. I expected it to be more of a challenge than it was, and the other classics exam I expected to be more of a challenge than it was. The main reason why is because for the classics course, you have to remember what's called scholarship, which is basically what later, literary theorists and, other sort of like thinkers have said about the texts. And you have to remember the names of these thinkers, and you have to correctly apply them to the question you're given. And you sort of are left to go and work it out yourself. You don't actually get really taught it. So I thought there would be a lot more of a challenge than it was. But fortunately for me, it wasn't. So I think that exam went relatively well. I don't think, of all of the ones that I had, it was probably one of the ones I struggled with for time the least. That was done, by the way, on Monday. The same cannot be said for the Love and Relationships unit, which is the other classics test that I did. I'll do Greek theatre as well. That's my 3 units. World of the Hero, Love and Relationships, Greek theatre. But we haven't done any Greek theatre yet. So the other thing we were assessed on was Love and Relationships, which is what what Seneca and Ovid, who are Roman thinkers, again, there's a theme in that all we've done so far is Roman, what they think of the aforementioned Love and Relationships. And honestly, it's probably my least favourite of the 2 units so far. But if you want to know who Seneca and Ovid are, let me know in the comments. I can make a separate video. But they came up. Both of them came up a fair bit, and I thought it was going to be a lot more challenging than it was, because I had to do the exam after my other classmate, because there were exam clashes, and I got the tip off that it'd be really hard, and I didn't find it really hard actually. So that was good, but I did struggle for time with that one a bit more. I'm going to wrap things up a little bit, or I'll try and hurry up because I'm looking at the time. I've already been speaking for 5 minutes. Religious studies was good. there were two papers, one on the philosophy side of things and one on the ethics side of things. I feel like I did better on the ethics side of things, but I feel like I did quite well at both. I struggled for time a little bit, but I'm not expecting a super good grade, but I feel like I did pretty good for those. And then there's history. Now history sort of mucks me about a little bit, in that I don't reckon I did very well with history actually, which is unfortunate. I don't think I did terribly, mind, but the Russia paper, I answered 2 questions well, but one of them I just did really appallingly. I could talk more on another video. If you want me to talk about the stuff that I study in Russia, in Russian history, please leave me a comment and let me know. But in short, I balls up a question. And then in Modern Britain, which I did today, it was just weird because, so we have to do a source question and then we have to pick 2 of 3 essay questions. And 2 of the 3 essay questions and the source question were strongly linked to the Suez Crisis. If anyone knows about that, it happened in 1957 under Anthony Eden. 1956 under Anthony Eden. Gosh, if I did that in the exam, I'd be boned. All of the questions seem to be about that incident, which ultimately made it a very boring exam. And I hadn't really studied it in much detail because I already knew it, and nothing on Wilson's government, Harold Wilson, which is what I spent most of my time revising because I didn't know it, came up at all, which was just annoying. And also I struggled for time a lot on the Britain exam. So that is, for those that have been wondering, a very brief rundown of how my exams went. I have rough ideas for the grades I think I'm going to get in my head. I don't want to say that here because it makes me look like a bloody fool if I get worse, and I don't like to make open predictions really, but yeah, if anyone has been wondering, those are the results that I got, or rather that's how I think I did in the tests. Now, moving on swiftly, recently somebody asked me what my opinion is on the House of Lords. And first of all, if you're listening, I don't mean any disrespect to you. I think this is quite a bad question, because it's not, do you think the House of Lords should be abolished? It's not, do you think the House of Lords should be removed of all hereditary peers? It's not, do you think bishops should be removed from the House of Lords? It's, what do you think of the House of Lords? And so I ultimately, as someone that, given I do 3 essay subjects, has become quite used to the statement is said, one side agrees, one side disagrees, as someone quite used to that style of argumentation, I find the question, what do you think of X, without any context, to be quite a challenging one. However, I am going to very quickly explain, and I do encourage you to challenge me on this in the comments, because at the end of the day, this sort of discussion is a large part of why I made this channel. I'm going to quickly explain why I think that we should maintain a House of Lords or some form of other unelected chamber of government. Now, I want to make this clear that this is not me advocating for any sort of role in the House of Lords. This is not me saying bishops should stay. This is not me saying hereditary peers should stay. This is just me saying there should be an unelected chamber of parliament. And so the main reason that I really, because I actually, this is one of the things that I believe quite strongly, is that ultimately a government that is entirely elected, I mean, this sounds like the point, but they have to do whatever we say. And yes, that can be very good. At the end of the day, you don't want a government that can completely ignore the will of the people. I mean, you only need to look at, like, pre-parliamentary England for that. It's not good for most citizens involved. However, I think that a government that relies entirely on popular election, as a government without the House of Commons would, given that the King really, although he legally technically has the power to, would never actually abolish Parliament. If we remove the House of Lords, the government would be entirely elected, the decision makers would be entirely elected. I ultimately think that that would be quite a dangerous and harmful idea. And the main reason why I think this is because a lot of the time politicians end up having to make decisions that are quite unpopular. I mean, you only need to look at some of the stuff that's been happening in the news about like all sorts of like winter fuel cuts and benefits cuts and things like that, and the amount of times that Keir Starmer, whether you agree with the policy or not, the amount of times that Keir Starmer has been pressured into U-turning in the last, I mean, he's been elected for at least a year now, I'm pretty sure, which I should know actually before recording this, but I'm sure he's been elected for at least a year, and the amount of U-turns on all sorts of benefits that he's had to do during that time shows that ultimately it is impossible almost for democratically elected governments that ultimately don't just rely on the will of the people, they rely on the support of the media, because the media is what gets them the will of the people, it's what gets them the vote. Because as much as we like to think otherwise, ultimately the press has a very, very large role in what we think of politicians. I mean, you know, look at what happens with Jeremy Corbyn and the sort of anti-Semitism allegations. The media has a huge role in what we think of politicians. And if you if the media turns on you, which, let's face it, insert big politician cuts public spending by however much, is a very good headline for a paper. It will sell lots, or it will get lots of clicks in the case of modern media. Point is, the press, because they are generally negative Nancy's, the press is naturally sort of set up to be very critical towards government. And so it is very hard for governments to make tough decisions like public spending cuts, like increasing taxes when necessary, like anything else. Even bills coming through, like even things on morality like the euthanasia bill. I mean, ultimately they're not really forced by party whips or anything like that, but MPs will still be held accountable for whatever they vote for in Parliament. And yeah, I understand a lot of the budget stuff isn't directly done by Parliament, but I think that if the government is entirely controlled or elected by people, and therefore really the government always needs the support of the press, it will be very, very hard for them to make decisions that are, while unpopular, ultimately necessary. And I think that ultimately having a House of Lords allows for, even if they're not as accountable, it allows for politicians that are much more willing to actually do the job of properly scrutinising bills, properly checking legislation, not having to as blindly follow the party line. Because as well, Commons parliamentarians, I mean, Lords obviously must do to some extent, but Commons parliamentarians have to answer to whips all the time, have to really bend the knee to the party as much as they bend the knee to the press or the people. But Lords members of the House of Lords, ultimately are nowhere near as constrained. And while this does not mean they should run the government on their own, it does ultimately put them in a unique position where they can simply say what they think. And I think that that is generally quite a beneficial role that people that advocate for the abolition of the House of Lords tend to understate. Now, this is very off the cuff, I haven't planned this, so if I've missed something or if this isn't unclear, let me know in the comments and I will elaborate. But that is, in short, I think that the House of Lords should stay there because somebody needs to do the unpopular shit. And that somebody, it makes the most sense for them to be the people that don't need popular votes. So yeah, whether it should be the House of Lords in its current form or not is a different matter, but ultimately I think that an unelected chamber of government, while it may be less accountable, is very helpful for actually getting unpopular dirty work done. Right, that's that segment concluded, and feel free to bully me in the comments if you disagree. I will happily make another video responding, and I'll admit that, like everyone else, I am a bit of an idiot. Therefore, there's a very large chance that I've gotten something wrong, and if you disagree with me, you know, at the end of the day, that's okay. We don't live in North Korea. Feel free to write a response, and I will, if I feel like it, get back to it and respond to it. But something very funny has happened in the last few days, and it's sort of the last thing that I wanted to talk about in this video. I seem to have a TikTok fan page. If you go onto TikTok and search George Cummings Official, you will find an account that has, it seems, been making edits of me. I want to clarify, I'm not involved in this. They've contacted me, which is how they've gotten some of the recent pictures they've been putting up of me, because I find it rather funny, so I've sent them some things to help get them going. But they sprung up one day and just started making edits of me. And you know what? Actually, to be honest, there was a slight hiccup that I don't want to get into, where apparently there seemed to be a team of people where one of them had put up a picture that I wasn't very happy with, because ultimately, if this will come across the wrong way, it wasn't as if I was doing anything that was like bigoted, but I was doing it was a compromising image, and that sounds really bad as well, actually. Please don't like make any leaps of logic as to what you think it is, but there was a slightly compromising image of me from when I was like 14 that arguably I found quite embarrassing and wanted getting rid of. But I made that honestly quite soon after I put something on story saying that I wasn't a fan of what they'd done. It was removed, and they have said, they're a group, they claim because I don't know who they are, they've said that they've removed the person who was involved in that. So other than that little bit of drama, I must confess I have nothing against them. But yeah, it's not me. I'm not the one doing it, and I've got no clue who they are, and I've got no clue why they would do it. But yeah, George Cummings Official on TikTok, I now have a fan page. And ultimately, I mean, first of all, it's free propaganda for me. You know, it's free advertising. They make edits of me for no reason other than they just feel like it, and that is really good advertising, because they seem to be advertising my existence out to the world. I don't know if it will get me any more subscribers, but you know, it will put me a little bit more in the public sphere, so that's quite fun. And at the end of the day, it's just a bit of a laugh, really. I mean, I do find it rather amusing. Obviously I can't advocate for everything they're going to put out, because I'm not one of them, you know? And I want to clarify that anything they say ultimately does not represent me, because I'm not them. But that is not to say that I don't find them a bloody good laugh. I mean, since this last video they have made, to my knowledge, at least 4 proper, rather high quality, if not a little bit gay looking, edits of myself. And I'm quite frankly baffled that someone would do such a thing. I not offended, mind, not upset, just baffled, because I don't see myself as particularly edit worthy. I don't see what I do as particularly good. It's a bit of a thing to muck about with on a Friday evening and take a break. But forgive me, if it has amassed me the following it seems to have done, so be it, right? And so yes, there was a slight hiccup, but that's been resolved. Other than that, to those that are wondering, that is the situation with the George Cummings Official TikTok page. It's not official. It's not myself. But unless they go out there and say something horribly racist in my name, they're bloody good people because they're funny, and I've decided so. But no, that's the situation with them. I don't know what to say. I don't know why they do it. And if they want to get in touch and tell me who they are, I'd be more than happy to know, because ultimately, I'm slightly chuffed to bits with what they've done. But that's that. Right, that is everything that I really wanted to talk about today. I apologise if it all seems a little bit broken up or a little bit scrambled. That would be because it wasn't very planned in advance. Ultimately, these things will always seem a little bit scrambled because it's me saying things off the cuff as I think of them in my head. There's no script. I'm looking down right now because I want to check what I want to wrap up with, because I've got a couple of announcements. But it's quite an unscripted thing. So, yeah. Apologies if that showed today especially. But, on that note, first of all, if anyone has any topics they would like me to cover, do let me know. Because I rather enjoyed talking with someone about the House of Lords the other day. And ultimately I do enjoy the politics discussions, even if I'm more on the political theory than current affairs. And I do enjoy philosophy discussions, so if anything catches your fancy and you want to hear my take on it, please do let me know, pop a comment. The other thing is that very soon we may, and this is key, may see the first episode of that history biography series I was working on. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I made a video a couple of weeks ago now or so called An Idea ... Do check that. I promise you it's not too long and it will make you a lot more certain as to what I mean, but I want to start making history biographies, not very high quality ones, but I'll do my best, of relatively unheard of historical figures. So that's interesting. The first one of those should be out soon because my mocks are over, so I can sort of kick back and relax a little bit. What else is there? I am going to be on work experience this upcoming week, so I won't be in school. I'll be working actually at the Newbury Weekly News for a week. So, expect me to come back jaded and allergic to the idea of unbiased truth. I'm kidding. If anyone from the Newbury Weekly is watching this, I'm kidding. I make snide comments about the media all the time, but I have no problem with you people. My mum's been in your papers a couple of times, and I have been in your papers once, and you're pretty chill. Newbury Weekly News, please don't hate me. I'm just being a goofy little guy. And the final thing, actually, is this edit thing has sort of inspired me to not take it more seriously, but set more goals with this channel thing. And so I would like to just say to you all, please like and subscribe if you've enjoyed the video today. And also, actually, if you have people that don't really know who I am, I would be more than happy if you'd share. And the reason why is because I have a goal. I'm not going to go for I have a dream, because I'm not, it's not that serious, but I have a goal. And that is that at the end of the summer holiday, so the start of September, I would like to have 50 subscribers. I currently have 40. I'd like to increase that a little bit, build it up a little bit. So, that's your challenge to you all. Spread the word, as it were, both the word of the Lord Jesus Christ, because he is King, never forget, but also, spread the word, I'm trying to get to 50 subscribers by the start of September / the end of the summer holidays. On that note, it's been wonderful to record this as always. I wish you all the best, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening. Bye.